tonight in reviews, we are talking episodes 5 and 6 of season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us. Honestly, I think doing 2 episodes at a time has worked out really well just for the way that the story's been unfolding this season. And we only have one more episode after these two that we're discussing here tonight. This season has come and gone so quickly. Let's dive on into episode 5, Feel Her Love. Now, when we left off in the previous set of episodes, Ellie and Dina had made it to Seattle. They were on the trail of finding Abby and the rest of her friends, and they had been able to track down, with the help of a radio they had stolen, track down that one of Abby's friends, Nora, is at a nearby hospital there in Seattle. So of course, the two of them start making their way to that, and then we get to find a little bit of the why that Dina is on this mission here with Ellie, because we can't be naive enough to sit here and think that the only reason that Dina has gone along is due to that friendship and the fact that they have those budding feelings for each other. That's not really a reason to go and risk your life or potentially risk somebody else's life either. And we do find out that at the beginning of this outbreak, the beginning of everything that went on, that Dina's family was killed, and she holds a lot of guilt thinking that had she been there earlier or done a little bit more, she could have changed that. And so she sees Ellie's quest for revenge as something that's justified, something that makes sense, because it seems like it's a way for her to almost get that revenge, to get that closure for not being there to stop what happened to her family years earlier. And I like that, because we do need some actual good reasoning here to see why Dina's along on the ride. But the issue that comes up with this, though, here is that we're not focused on the justification or the transference that's happening with this entire situation involving Joel's death. It's not necessarily to say that Ellie isn't justified in wanting revenge and wanting vengeance for what happened with Joel. But the thing is that why did Abby want Joel dead in the first place? Because Joel killed her father. Joel killed her father because her father was going to kill Ellie. And this seems very, very reminiscent of the issues that we've seen back and forth between the Wolves and the Seraphites so far about who attacked who first, and it just keeps going on. And that's the same here with this, is that it's the chicken before the egg argument. Like, both sides have done enough to cause each other harm at this point. Who's ultimately right? And if you played the game, there's an easy answer, in my opinion at least, to that question of who is right. Did you take the time to work out what that is? They're both wrong. Just to make sure we're on the same page with that there, they are both wrong in this quest here. And all y'all have different takes. You can tell me in the comment section if you don't agree with the take that both Ellie and Abby are wrong in their separate quests for vengeance or revenge, whatever you want to call it at this point. But either way, we get that reasoning for why Dina is along for the ride here with Ellie. And this ends up with them actually seeing a bit more of that brutality, going back to the issue between the Wolves and the Seraphites, as they end up in a park to where they see a wolf soldier being brutally dissected, having his stomach ripped complete open by the Seraphites. And then at that point, unfortunately, Dina and Ellie are found, and Jesse shows up to save the day after Dina catches an arrow to the leg and is able to get Dina to safety, while Ellie ends up going a different way and finds herself in the hospital occupied by Nora. Now, you have to remember, when we saw Abby's friends at the beginning of the season, most of them weren't really on board with what was happening between Abby and Joel. They absolutely understood the idea of Abby wanting her revenge, but they didn't realize it would be so easy. They didn't think there'd be a chance they'd ever actually get a chance to come across Joel in the first place. So when that opportunity came, Abby's friends wanted her just to end it and be done with it. And it's everything that kind of came after that left us with some questions about what are the motives of her friends that are around her. Do they condone everything that Abby's doing? Or are they along for the ride the same way that Dina's along for the ride with Ellie and her quest and thirst for revenge as well? But as we see in this conversation between Ellie and Nora, as Nora tries to make Ellie understand why Abby did what she did, she also chooses to go about it in a very terrible sense and basically says that Joel deserved exactly what happened. And this leads to the revelation where Ellie reveals that she is the uninfected girl, the girl who cannot be infected by bites or spores. And that is the reason why Joel ended up killing Abby's father and everybody in that Firefly hospital. It's a very, very surreal reveal, because so far, everybody who's learned about Abby's secret Everybody, with the exception of Dina right now, has died. Every single person has died there. Nora's obviously dead in this case as well, too. But it does make you question whether or not Dina's long for the world, as right now she is the only living person who is aware of the fact that Ellie can't be infected at all. But the big thing that is coming from this episode is the fact that Ellie was absolutely aware of what Joel did. You know, I had said at the beginning of the season that we don't know for sure whether or not Ellie had that information, and it seemed very much like she didn't, that the conversation that she wanted to have with Joel about it just never was able to happen. But Ellie reveals that she is aware of that information. And this paints a lot of what's going on in a very different light. Because going back to what I said about Dina, Dina's along with Ellie because of the fact that she feels there's justified revenge in this, that somebody killed Ellie's dad. So, of course, she's going to help Ellie go and take that person out because the same thing happened to her when she was a kid. But would Dina do the exact same thing had she found out that Ellie's dad killed somebody else's dad and brought that on himself? It poses a lot of questions about who's again in the right for all of this, and it just leads back to the overall answer that neither Ellie or Abby are right at all in this situation. So we get a lot here out of Feel Her Love. This advances the plot and the meanings behind everything quite a lot, and it's going to put Ellie in a tough position, I feel, as we go on to the last episode of the season. This moves us along, though, to episode 6, The Price. Now, this episode presumably marks the last appearance of Pedro Pascal as Joel. Again, he does not play in the narrative. Joel is dead and gone at this point, and so the only way to really bring him back would be for flashbacks. As we follow along Joel trying to connect with Ellie on her birthday, spread out across her 15th birthday up until current times we're at right now. And we see whether it's a guitar, a trip to the museum, stumbling into a hookup session, that the two of them just have not perfected that communication with each other, that there's still a bit of a strain because Joel very much treats Ellie like she is his, like she is absolutely his daughter. And at times, Ellie leans into that, but realistically, when it doesn't serve her, Ellie goes as far away from that as humanly possible. I'm not your kid. I'm not your daughter. You're not my dad. That she's making her own choices. And it's a very, very interesting dynamic because if we're in the post-apocalyptic future where things are not the same as they were before, then what rights does a kid have compared to before him? They're not an adult. What say do they actually have in their own life? And now it brings up a very important question that regards to the fact that Joel has been caring for her, Ellie wants to make her own decisions. Does Joel actually get a say in that? And watching the dynamic between the two of them as they live together, it's Joel's house. But again, she is not his daughter. It's just fascinating to see how sometimes they can lean heavily into that dynamic, but then a lot of other times just pull right on back from it as well. And it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful scene watching Joel surprise Ellie with this trip to this museum to where he's found it taped from an Apollo moon landing. And he's found the landing module and he's able to recreate this experience for Ellie that plays out exactly the same way that this section played in the video game as well too. And I think out of all the stuff that they've directly adapted from the game thus far, this might end up being the most impressive just because this level is very much not a throwaway, but there's not a lot of action actually going on in this. It's very separate from everything else you have going on in the game. And I think that the TV show here was able to perfectly capture the beauty and the essence of that scene and of that connection, which of course then takes us to something brand new. We had heard earlier in the season that there was some tension between Jackson therapist or psychotherapist, Gail, played by Catherine O'Hara, who had said that Joel had killed her husband, Eugene. And we get to see it as Joel takes Ellie out on her first patrol on her 19th birthday, that they encounter Gene after he's been recently bitten by somebody infected. And while Ellie's pleading for Joel to just take Eugene back to Jackson so he could say goodbye to Gail the way that he would like, Joel promises this, but then proceeds to go against that and he kills Eugene, which then leads to just more heartbreak as when they return to Jackson with Eugene's body, Joel, of course, tells Gail a very specific story to save her the pain. And this lets Ellie know that the lies that have been told to her about the hospital in Salt Lake are just that they are lies, that Joel hasn't been telling her the truth. And if he lied about what happened to Eugene, to Gail, he absolutely lied to Ellie about what happened to the Fireflies and Marlene and everything surrounding that cure. And this takes us finally to get caught up to where we are, to where we go back to the night of the New Year's Eve party after the interaction with Seth, where Joel intervened. And we see that when Ellie did return home, her and Joel actually did have a conversation, and Joel finally did come clean about what happened in Salt Lake City. And Ellie, after seeming like it was going to be completely done between the two of them, tells Joel that this gives them a chance to rebuild something, a chance to find a common ground, to find that connection again, which makes everything all the more heartbreaking. You know, at the end of the previous episode, we reclassified everybody who's leaning into Ellie and her revenge journey because we learned that, well, she's getting revenge for something that Joel ended up screwing up and caused his own death in the first place. But now we see even more here that, again, Ellie knew what Joel did and she chose to forgive him. And if she chose to forgive him, that transference should have been moving forward as well too. I'm not saying she has to forgive Abby right away, but she should have forgave Abby for what she did to Joel because she's working the same way that Ellie did, and that didn't happen either. So hopefully y'all can see again how these themes of justification and transference are really shining through here in this second season. You know, this has not been an easy season to watch. It has been highly emotional, and I don't doubt for a second that our last episode here before we go away for another couple years most likely is likely going to elicit some tears as well. But I'm absolutely loving it. They're still making the game come to life for me, and I am bummed out hearing that we're going to have to take another season to truly tell all of it. You know, the fact that they're going to spread this out amongst seasons 2, 3, and likely 4 to get this all done, it's a bit infuriating with how long it's taken to get these seasons done. But if we're going to continue to get the great drama that we've been getting thus far this season, I'm all aboard for it. So y'all let me know what we're thinking so far about season 2 of The Last of Us. We only got one episode left. I'm going to be bringing my thoughts to you on that next week. So make sure you guys go and get subscribed, especially to my link tree where you can access everything I have for you. You can do that at linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page with video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms with audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings through the year, my TikTok page for movie reviews, movie premieres, and movie news, my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of that, y'all. Hit that subscribe buttons. I have an advanced review up right now for Bring Her Back, which does not come out until May 30th. Some of y'all got a chance to check that out as this week's AMC Scream Unseen. So if you want my thoughts, hit my channel up to check that out. Folks, we are still talking The Bondsman. We are talking Dangerous Animals here very soon. We're going to jump back into Penny Dreadful, and we're going to be talking Better Luck Than Chuck. I don't want y'all to miss any of that, so hit that subscribe button. But that's it for me tonight, y'all. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.